Good evening, residents of Everett, Washington. I would like to call to order the Everett City Council meeting of July 16, 2025. For more information on council meetings and how to participate, please visit everettwa.gov/citycouncil. Clerk, will you please take the roll?
Mayor Franklin.
Here.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Here.
Councilmember Fosse.
Here.
Councilmember Bader.
Here.
Councilmember Ryan.
Here.
Councilmember Vogely.
Here.
Councilmember Tui.
Here.
President Schwab.
Here. At this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Tui to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Please rise.
Thank you. And at this time, I'd like to ask Councilmember Ryan to read the land acknowledgement.
Thank you. Good evening. The City Council wishes to acknowledge the original inhabitants of this place, the Strahopes people, and their successors, the Tulalip tribes. Since time immemorial, they have hunted, fished, gathered on, and taken care of these lands and waters. We respect their sovereignty, their right to self-determination, and honor their sacred spiritual connection with the land and waters. We will strive to be honest about our past mistakes to include a future that includes their voices, their stories, and their people for a more just and equitable society.
Thank you. All right, on to old business. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes for July 9th, 2025?
Mayor Bader, so moves.
Second the motion.
Motion and a second's been made. Clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan. Abstain. Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, well, good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, President Schwab and council and community. I have just a few public safety updates this evening. First, an update on our work to address speeding in our city. Our team has been assessing a few streets in the city in the lead up to a citywide analysis. Next month, we will bring forward a recommendation to you to lower speed limits on both 16th Street and Holly. On 16th, we'll recommend reducing to 25 miles an hour between Grand Avenue and Marine View Drive. And on Holly, we'll recommend dropping to 25 miles per hour between 100th Street Southwest and Evergreen Way. We're also going to be doing work on Dakota and Madison, but we still have some analysis to do and enforcement in those areas before we bring that to you. At the same meeting that we bring those recommendations to, you'll hear about our comprehensive speed limit policy and forthcoming speed management plan. With that plan, which is funded by a federal grant, we will evaluate every arterial in Everett and make many changes to streets that haven't changed in decades. And we'll also look at into the 20-mile-per-hour local street speed limit, a citywide alley speed limit, and opportunities where we can implement the new neighborhood shared street concept that was approved as an option by the state legislature this year. Next, we're working on a few other public safety related ordinances. First, as I've mentioned before, we will have a graffiti prevention ordinance ready in early August. This will be a tool for accountability, providing some relief to residents and businesses who are hit by graffiti vandalism. We're also working on an ordinance regarding exposing children to dangerous drugs. Although there is state legislation covering this issue with meth, there is no state legislation regarding exposing children to fentanyl. And sadly, we know children have been tragically exposed to fentanyl in our city in the past. We'll bring forward an ordinance for your consideration to criminalize knowing or reckless exposure of a child to fentanyl. And I've asked staff to review data related to our stay out of drug areas ordinance that you recently passed. My team and I believe there are a few more neighborhoods that should be examined, including the area just south of downtown in Fort Gardner neighborhood and the properties near 41st and Colby. I believe Councilmember Bader mentioned these neighborhoods as well. And so we'll have more to come on that soon. And no further updates this evening. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, now it's time for public comment, which includes written comment acknowledgement. Under our rules, written comments shall be considered in the same manner as oral comments. The person submitting the comment must provide their name and city of residence to be part of the official council record. Good evening, Angie. Do we have any written comments?
We do not have any written comments.
Okay, how about public comments?
Yes, we have two individuals here. So if Joseph could please come to the podium. And please press the red button on the base of the mic and state your full name, city of residence, and you have 3 minutes to speak.
Very good. Oh, sorry. My name is Joseph Stremick. I'm a resident of Everett. Good evening, members of the City Council, Mayor Franklin, and residents of Everett. I'm here tonight to address the Everett Police Department. with whom my experience has been universally positive. I suspect most of us have seen video from around the nation of masked men, sometimes without identification, abducting people. A lot of people are scared of being taken from their families and their community without any recourse, without any legal justification, without due process. I feel that the police are the first line of defense against this kind of action. My question to the Everett Police is this: if we find ourselves confronted with such a situation, can we call on you to help our fellow residents to demand and verify that any individual or agency involved in such an action show valid and official cause, identification, judicial warrants, and so on? Can we count on you to demand accountability from these agents? Of course, I am aware that sometimes your duties require cooperation with other law enforcement agencies. I just hope that you make utterly certain that such cooperation is legitimate and transparent and legal. I further hope that you would balance that duty with your duty to serve and protect the residents of this city. I would love to see a public statement that the Everett Police Department is committed to these ideals. I imagine it would go a long way toward relieving some of the fear we are feeling. Without such a statement, and considering the images we've been seeing, I'm afraid there's a chance that some residents may conflate all law enforcement agencies under the same banner, especially in an already tense situation. And such situations are not known for encouraging calm and critical thinking. When people are scared, there's always a chance that things will escalate. And let me be clear, I am in no way asking you to break your oath. I know there are situations when the representatives of a federal agency have valid warrants and documentation and identification that you would cooperate with them, and I wouldn't expect anything else. I'm only asking you to remember your oath to the people of this city, the state of Washington, and the Constitution of the United States. To put it succinctly, I don't want anyone in our city to be afraid of calling 911 if they witness armed agents terrorizing our neighbors. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, Michelle, please come to the podium. Please state your
Hello.
full name, city residence. You have 3 minutes to
Can
speak.
you hear me? Michelle Pendergrass, District 2, Precinct 13, Democrat PCO. I'm here. I came because of Clark Park, and then Joe and my daughters grew up together, and he makes such an excellent point. And now I'm going to just, for a quick second, I totally agree and would love to hear some comments from you guys about your thoughts on what he said. Also, just another thought from talking to, neighbors and community members in my neighborhood. The stay out of drug areas keep growing. And I've talked to some people who are in the, not allowed to go places. And apparently there's ways that they can, be allowed to go to, say, a grocery store or a laundromat, but they're very difficult. There's a lot of hoops to jump through. And when you're talking about people who are, barely on methadone or whatever it is that they're dealing with, that's just a lot to ask. And maybe you could also consider easing the ways to get them to the store and the library and, say a homeless feed thing. Anyway, so the other reason I'm here is because Clark Park Dog Park is there. Thank you guys. It's really nice. We all love it. All the dog owners are so happy to be there, but where's the spigot? You guys promised a spigot. You talked about a spigot. There's no spigot. And so I want some comments on that, please. That's all.
Thank you. And that concludes our public comments.
Okay, well, thank you very much. On to council comments. We'll begin with Vice President Zarlingo.
Well, thank you, and maybe related to the previous commenter. I attended yesterday the Regional Law and Justice Council, where I represent Everett and a mix of Snohomish County cities. This council is made up of representatives from cities, the county, judicial and law enforcement agencies, and community representatives. And The most recent meeting was talking a lot, 2 meetings we're going to address electronic home monitoring. So these are bracelets or ankle bracelets. They're an alternative to pretrial or jail. So they can be pretrial or jail or a post-conviction release condition. There are several remarkable things about it that I think it's useful for people to understand. One of them is about 1/10 the cost of jail per day, or about $15 a day. There's some funding for those who cannot pay. This stuff is often paid by the person who's being monitored. And they can monitor for alcohol or geographic boundaries via GPS for things like no contact orders and things like the stay out of drug areas. So that's a reasonable thing for that council to consider. And I guess I would encourage our commenter to maybe come and make that comment and request at the next meeting of this Regional Law and Justice Council. Will be about a month from now on a Tuesday at noon. So that, because the idea certainly of the council is to improve justice and accountability. The benefit of this in part is also that offenders and those charged can continue to work, continue to meet their obligations, stay connected to family and support. The decision about using it is up to the judges involved. The program's kind of in transition in terms of administration and funding, and again, seeking to provide justice and accountability. It's statistically successful when it's administered, and it's a fairer bail release option for those who have few financial resources, because sometimes people who have very few resources can't make bail and spend more time in jail than people who have more resources. So this is another option that way. And again, the Law and Justice Council is taking a deeper dive into this. And then the other thing I wanted to mention, last week I represented Everett with Puget Sound Regional Council's Transportation Policy Board, a companion to the Growth Management Hearing Board that Councilmember Bader represents us on. There was an article just today by the Herald Editorial Board that describes the Washington State Transportation Commission. So our 4-county Puget Sound Regional Council Transportation Policy Board works on the regional versions, the smaller versions of that, aligning the goals of the city, the county, and the state. And that commission is still interested in public comment. So if you're interested in that, the Washington State Transportation Commission, if you search on that, you'll get that. And I think that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Fossey.
Thanks. So Joseph, thank you so much for your very eloquent and diplomatic approach to the real concerns that people had. I've also been hearing from a lot of others concerned about people being kidnapped by they don't know whom, and the lack of identification or knowing if they're police or if they are from immigration or who they are, and not showing the proper identification. I know that the LAPD chief recently had issued guidance to its own officers to verify federal enforcement officers to, I think, curb that concern and aid in that concern that we don't have copycat people out there pretending to be law enforcement and federal enforcement, because there have been stories out there of people being harmed because of people impersonating that. So I also would like follow-up from our own police on the instruction that they give, not at this very moment, but it can be later, that they're giving to our officers and what kind of their approach is. When it comes to Michelle, thank you for the reminder about the spigot. I did ask about that previously, and I don't recall who was going to follow up with me about the Clark Park spigot and water. Does anybody have a status update? Because I remember that also being very much a part of the plan. And then the last time you spoke on it, I asked about it, and then I think it just got lost.
Yeah, back in December of last year, I think was the last note that I have on it. Staff, we're still open to it, but there's no nearby potable water. So it's more expensive than one might think, although I don't have a specific cost estimate. And we don't have budget, didn't have budget before the park was planned. I assume still don't have it. But so that's the update I have at this moment, but I can loop back with park staff on it as well.
Thank you. And if there's any way that you guys can give us an update at a council meeting of what the options are and the costs of those so that we fully understand what we're looking at. And so if something needs to be sacrificed or moved around one place or another to accommodate that, as part of the original plan, people will be fully aware and
It
educated.
was not
on
part
it.
of the original plan, but I know we talked about it through that timeframe.
We will bring it back.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Bader.
Just real quick report, library board meeting, was at that last evening. I think, my colleagues have received an email from the folks who are leading the strategic plan process. So wanting to connect with you and get your comments and thoughts. I think there's a broader public comment, process as well. And last night we also had a report by, from library staff about how they acquire and also get rid of materials because the library can't hold everything. Fascinating presentation. Our library professionals use their professional knowledge, data that they gather, and also obviously public requests for acquisitions as well. I believe the library board meeting is somewhere posted somewhere on the website. So if anybody's interested in learning more about that process, just get a fascinating one led by our library professionals. So anyhow, it was a good meeting and appreciate the opportunity to share that. Thanks.
Thank you. Councilmember Ryan.
Great, thank you. And thank you, Joseph, for your comments. I really appreciate the kudos to our police department, well-deserved kudos. And I would echo Councilmember Fotzi's comments as well about just the reassurance to our public and community members about what they can and can't expect from our city government and from different departments at the city when it comes to federal uncertainties. I think that would be helpful for the public to know where we stand, where administration stands, and how they know that we're standing behind them. And thank you, Michelle, for the comments in addition to the spigot update. I'd appreciate an update about the status of the gazebo. I know it had been dismantled and possibly some pieces preserved for reassembly at some point, and some ARPA dollars had been set aside to look into that. So I think an update on the gazebo paired with the spigot update would be fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Vogely.
Yes, good evening, everyone. Thank you, commenters, very much. Echo. For Clark Park, I do remember talking about the spigot, and I don't think it was promised, so I'm just gonna put that out there. But we'll look back and see, obviously. And I also wanted to say that so I went on the Parks Board tour of a few of the parks recently, a couple months ago, and we went by Clark Park and it wasn't quite yet open. And they even have to use a water truck to water the lawn, if I'm remembering correct. So, we'll talk about it later, but there's no actual even watering devices down there. So maybe I'm wrong. And we'll talk about it later because we don't get to have dialogue right now, but that's what I'm remembering. And I can't wait to hear more about it because I have certain ideas.
We'll have our parks director.
I swear there's a watering truck involved. But I'm glad that it's open now. And I'm curious, council members, Arlingo spoke about the Law and Justice Council, and there's community members. Do you know off the top of your head how many community members there are how two? Okay, yeah.
7.
Well,
There were 2 attending.
Yeah.
There were 2 attending, I guess, and 2 that I know we've seen regularly there.
Yeah.
Councilmember Ryan helps make this stuff go, so she can say with more
Thank
authority.
you. Yeah, there are 7 community members, 1 from each county council district and 2 at-large positions, but only 2 have been appointed at this point. With I believe 2 more kind of in the works to be approved by the county council.
all right, cool. Thank you. And TAC, Transportation Advisory Committee, is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. We're back at the 3200 Cedar Street. And if anybody is curious, that's where we hear about the TIP and a whole bunch of, parks and roads and this and that. And tomorrow it's a Vision Zero Everett update, long range plan connecting Everett in 2045 with transit. and an update on the outdoor event center. So, and there's always updates from public engineering, traffic engineering, police, and transit. So, it would be nice to see or hear anybody there. It's also on Teams, and that is all I have. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Tui.
No report and no comments tonight.
Okay, and thank you very much for all your comments tonight. Just a reminder that July 30th council meeting has been canceled. So just as we'll send out some reminders to make sure. Okay, on to administration, Jennifer.
Nothing further. I'll get back to you. I've got a list. Appreciate it.
Okay, are you sure?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for doing that. Appreciate it. And our city attorney, David Hall.
No executive session. My only report is I will say as a frequent user of the Clark Park tennis courts and an Everett resident, the addition of the dog park has made that entire Clark Park experience much more pleasant.
That's good to hear. Thank you very much. Okay. On to our consent items. We have 9 items, 1 through 9. Do I have a motion?
Councilmember Bader, so moves.
Councilmember Ryan seconds.
Okay, motion has been made second. Or any last minute questions? Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes. Okay, moving on to our action item, item number 10. Council Bill 2506-39, third and final reading, adopt an amendment to ordinance 3196-10. It's the International Property Maintenance Code, EMC 16.11 or 16.09.010. Do I have a motion?
Move to approve.
Second?
Councilmember Ryan seconds.
Okay, any questions or comments? Okay, clerk, please take the roll.
Vice President Zarlingo.
Yes.
Councilmember Fosse.
Yes.
Councilmember Bader.
Yes.
Councilmember Ryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Vogely.
Yes.
Councilmember Tui.
Yes.
President Schwab.
Yes, and with no further business, we are now adjourned.